Far out in the South Pacific, two volcanic islands rise from an ocean that seems to have no edge. One carries the capital and most of the country's urban life. The other is larger, greener, less crowded, and circled by a road that keeps returning to villages, plantations, churches, and the sea. Ferries move between them every day. From above, roads cling to the coast, while tropical vegetation climbs toward volcanic highlands. On the larger island, old lava fields still cut dark lines through the green. This is Samoa, and the most revealing thing about living here is not simply that people inhabit a small island country far from large continental centers. It is that an old social system still shapes how many families organize space responsibility, ceremony food work, and time. Samoans call it Fa'a Samoa, the Samoan way. It is not a museum piece, and it does not mean that every household lives in the same way. Phones ring, buses fill, children go to school, imported goods arrive by ship, relatives live overseas. Young people make choices that previous generations did not face in quite the same form. Yet across village life, older structures remain visible in ordinary details: who gathers, where, how family responsibilities reach beyond one roof. Why meeting spaces matter, and why a road can suddenly grow quiet at a certain hour. To understand Samoa, it helps to begin where these layers meet, not on an empty beach, but in the middle of a working day. In Apia, the capital on Upolu movement gathers quickly. Brightly painted buses arrive and leave. Vans stop near shops. People cross between the bus station market's offices and roadside businesses. At Fugale Market, bananas, coconuts, taro tropical fruit, and cooked Samoan food move from family-run stalls into bags and baskets. Nearby, the fish market adds tuna, octopus, crabs, and other catch brought in from the sea. The market is useful because it compresses several parts of island life into one place. A stack of taro can arrive with soil still clinging to the roots. Coconuts are opened sorted or carried away in bunches. At the fish market, the surface of a tuna catches the morning light before it is cut and sold. These are small details, but they keep the food system visible. Local crops sit beside goods that have traveled much farther. A shopper can move between food grown on Samoan soil and products that reach the islands through international trade. The basket becomes a small map of how local production and outside supply meet. The movement is practical, but it is also social. People stop to talk. Someone recognizes a relative. A passenger waits at the roadside until a bus approaches. Outside the denser center of Apia, the rhythm begins to spread out. Buildings sit farther apart. Gardens, breadfruit trees, and palms reappear. The road passes through one village and then another. That change in scale matters. Samoa's daily life is not divided neatly into traditional village on one side and modern city on the other. The same person can move through both in a single day. Someone may work in Apia and return to a village where family land, church life, customary responsibility, and Matai leadership still carry weight. So the first lesson is not that Samoa moves slowly. It is that several kinds of time operate together. There is work time, school time, market time, ferry time, family time, church time, and village time. What looks relaxed from the outside can be structured by obligations that are easy to miss. The road shows how these layers overlap. A bus can carry workers, students, shoppers, and relatives on the same route. A roadside stall can turn produce into cash without moving far from family land. A church can be a landmark and also part of the weekly rhythm of a community. Daily life keeps moving between these functions without announcing when one ends and another begins. And many of those responsibilities begin with the idea of Aiga. Aiga is often translated as extended family, but the word carries more weight than a simple list of relatives. In Samoa's social structure, the Aiga connects people, family land titles, responsibilities, and relationships, that can continue across several households and generations. That helps explain why the shape of a Samoan village can feel different even before anyone describes the system. Open-sided fales appear beside newer enclosed homes. Larger meeting houses occupy prominent spaces. Buildings face communal areas rather than hiding every activity behind walls. A traditional fale is built around openness. Wooden posts support the roof, and permanent walls may be absent. Modern fales can use tin roofs, concrete floors, blinds, windows, or more enclosed designs, but the basic form remains recognizable. Different types serve different purposes. A family home may be smaller and more private. A fale tele, or large house, is used for meetings, family gatherings, and ceremonies. The architecture makes social life visible. Air moves through the structure. Voices travel. People can sit facing one another across an open floor rather than disappearing into separate rooms. A child can move between the yard and the gathering. Visitors can be received without forcing an occasion into a small interior. When more relatives arrive, the space can absorb them. The building is practical in a warm climate, but it also makes social presence harder to hide. Inside, the wider Aiga Matai titles provide another layer of organization. A Matai represents an extended family and carries responsibilities connected to family affairs, village matters, customary practice, and land. That does not mean every household is governed in exactly the same way. It means family identity in Samoa can have a formal social structure around it. Responsibility therefore reaches outward. A person may contribute money, food, labor, care, or time to a wider family need. Someone living overseas may send support home. Someone on the islands may care for land, children, or older relatives. Another family member may help prepare for a gathering or ceremony. For many Samoans, home is not simply the building where one sleeps. It is a network of people who know where one belongs. That network also explains why tradition is most interesting when it is seen doing something rather than simply being displayed. Ding. One of the most patient examples begins with pandanus leaves. They are prepared, split into extremely fine strips, and woven with a precision that cannot be rushed. The work grows slowly from narrow strands into a large, finely finished mat. The finer the weave, the more time and skill the process demands. This is Ie Samoa. A fine mat can take months, and in some cases years, to complete, but its value cannot be measured only by the hours of work. Ie Samoa is displayed and exchanged at important occasions such as weddings and funerals, where it can reaffirm kinship and strengthen social ties. The object moves from hand to hand, but what it carries is relationship. That is why culture in Samoa is difficult to understand as decoration. Dance, tattoo, weaving, language, church life, and ceremony may all be visually striking, but their deeper meaning appears when they organize behavior, mark responsibility, transmit knowledge, or bring people together. Tradition also lives beside modern tools. A meeting house can stand next to a concrete home. A family can use phones and digital services while preparing for a customary obligation. Young people can study modern subjects and still grow up understanding the importance of family titles and village protocol. The relationship is not always simple. A system that creates support can also create expectations. Ceremonies can require time, money, food, and labor. Modern opportunities can widen choices while also stretching families across islands and countries. Those tensions become clearer when we follow how people make a living. Outside the most urban parts of Upolu, the land remains close to the day. A plantation may begin behind a home or along a village road. Taro leaves rise from cultivated ground. Coconut palms form long vertical lines above bananas, cocoa, breadfruit, and other crops. Pigs and poultry can be part of the same household economy. Agriculture remains important to livelihoods and food security, especially in rural communities. The work is repetitive in the way most essential work is repetitive: clearing, planting, cutting, carrying, sorting, and starting again. A bunch of bananas or a basket of taro at a market stall is the visible end of hours spent on land that may sit only a short walk from the family home. Smallholder farms grow crops such as taro, coconut, bananas, and cocoa, while livestock adds another source of food or income. Some produce is eaten by the household. Some moves to local markets, roadside stalls, shops, or export channels. The work follows natural limits. Taro cannot be hurried because a payment is due. Coconut palms do not care about ferry schedules. Heavy rain can slow access. Dry periods, pests, crop disease, and changing market conditions can affect what a harvest is worth. Near the coast, fishing adds another rhythm. Boats leave when conditions allow. Catch returns toward homes, markets, restaurants, and roadside sellers. The sea is close, but fishing still depends on fuel equipment, weather transport, and buyers. Then there are jobs shaped more clearly by Samoa's service economy: retail, government, construction, education, tourism, transport, hospitality, communications, and small business. Apia concentrates many of these opportunities, which is one reason movement toward the capital matters even in a country where village ties remain strong. Tourism creates another layer. Beaches, waterfalls, volcanic landscapes, cultural experiences, and family-run accommodation can generate income. A family may operate beach fails, transport food stalls, shops, tours, or other services. The same coastline can therefore be family land, a source of food, a workplace, and a visitor's idea of paradise at the same time. Smaller exchanges matter as well. Around the islands, produce is sold at open-air markets and roadside stalls. A table beside the road can connect a grower directly with a buyer. The scale may be small, but the function is important. Household labor becomes cash without requiring a large formal business. Work in Samoa therefore often crosses categories that are separated elsewhere. A household may combine wages, farming, fishing, informal selling. Tourism, customary land, and support from relatives abroad. One source may be regular, another seasonal, another dependent on weather or family circumstance. That mixture can help households spread risk. It also shows why a salary alone does not describe the full economy of family life. Distance appears inside ordinary purchases too. Samoa imports many manufactured goods and fuel, which means outside transport is built into the availability and cost of everyday products. At the same time, local food and access to family land can reduce dependence on shops for some households. But the balance is never as simple as local equals cheap and imported equals expensive. Farming takes labor. Fishing needs equipment and safe conditions. Vehicles need fuel. Homes need repairs. Electricity, phones, school costs, church contributions, transport, and family obligations all compete for money. Housing shows the same mixture of adaptation and change. Traditional open structures make sense in a warm climate, while many modern homes use concrete metal roofing, enclosed rooms, windows, and appliances. In some family compounds, different building types stand side by side because they answer different needs: sleeping, gathering, receiving visitors, cooking, or holding larger occasions. Another important part of the household economy comes from beyond Samoa itself. Remittances remain a major part of the national economy. For many families, money sent by relatives overseas can help meet household costs and larger family obligations. The financial flow is only one part of the story. It also reveals how far Samoan family networks extend beyond the islands. A person can live overseas and still remain connected to decisions, responsibilities, and events in a village at home. So living in Samoa can involve a household on Upolu or Savai'i, whose social and financial network reaches across the Pacific. And when families gather, those connections often become tangible around food. Before the meal, there is heat. Wood and coconut husks burn beneath volcanic stones until the rocks hold enough heat for cooking. Nearby, food is prepared while flame settles into coals. Taro, breadfruit, bananas, fish, pork, chicken, octopus, and other ingredients may be wrapped in leaves or arranged with coconut cream. This is an umu, an above-ground oven built around hot volcanic stones. The process is physical. Stones are heated. Food is prepared and wrapped. The oven is covered with leaves to hold in the heat. Then the cooking disappears from view. Smoke escapes at the edges. Time does the rest. For a while there is almost nothing to watch. That is part of the rhythm. The fire has done its loud work. Now the heat is sealed under leaves. People prepare plates, weave, or arrange serving baskets, talk, and wait. When the covering is lifted, the scene changes at once. Steam rises from food flavored by heat, leaves smoke and coconut. Palusami brings young taro leaves and coconut cream together. Fish, pork, chicken, taro, breadfruit, bananas, and other foods can share the same cooking space. Umu cooking remains visible in Samoa, particularly around Sundays, special occasions, and family meals. Because preparation takes time, and one oven can feed many people. Cooking easily becomes a shared process rather than a private kitchen task. That matters more than a list of dishes. Food in Samoa connects plantations, the sea household labor village rhythm, and family gatherings. A fish begins offshore. Taro begins in cultivated soil. Coconut cream begins with fruit that must be opened and processed. The meal carries the landscape into the center of social life. At the markets in Apia or Salelologa, this relationship is compressed into stalls of fresh produce and seafood. In a village, it is stretched across the work of growing, harvesting, cleaning, preparing, cooking, carrying, and serving. The closer we look at the food, the harder it becomes to separate culture from geography, because the islands themselves set many of the conditions. Samoa is volcanic before it is tropical. On Savai'i, that history can appear suddenly. Green vegetation gives way to hardened lava at Saleaula, where flows from the 1905 to 1911 eruption of Mount Matavanu reshaped the landscape and buried villages. Dark rock still runs around the remains of a church, while vegetation slowly reclaims the edges. Elsewhere, volcanic origins appear more gently in ridges, fertile soils, waterfalls, caves, steep interiors, and black rock meeting bright water. Most settlements lie close to the coast, where roads connect one village to the next. The interior rises more sharply and is much less densely settled. That creates a daily geography in which the sea is rarely far from the routes people use even when the day's work has nothing to do with fishing. The climate supports taro, coconut, banana, breadfruit, cocoa, and other crops, but tropical abundance does not mean nature is always generous. Heavy rain can damage roads or crops. Cyclones can strip roofs and vegetation. Flooding and coastal erosion can affect communities built close to the sea. The same ocean that provides food and connection also increases exposure. That is why landscape in Samoa is more than scenery. Soil helps determine what can be grown. Reefs and coastal waters support fishing. Roads determine how produce reaches markets. Weather decides whether boats move. The channel between the two main islands turns ferry service into a basic part of national connection. And few journeys make that relationship more visible than the crossing between Upolu and Savai'i. At Mulifanua Wharf, vehicles line up and passengers carry bags toward the ferry. Across the water, Salelologa is the main arrival point on Savai'i. The crossing usually takes about an hour to an hour and a half. For a visitor, it can feel scenic. Wind moves across the open deck. Upolu recedes, and Savai'i grows slowly larger. For residents, the view is only one layer of the trip. The ferry is infrastructure, a moving piece of road between two islands. A vehicle may be carrying goods. A family may be traveling for an event. A worker, student, or vendor may simply need to reach the other island. When the ferry opens at Salelologa, the journey continues onto the road that circles Savai'i. Local buses add another layer. They are brightly painted, practical, and part of everyday movement. There are no fixed bus stops in the usual sense. Passengers can wave buses down along the route. The system connects villages with markets, shops, schools, work, and family. Modern connection is no longer only physical. Mobile phones and internet access reach much of the two main islands, allowing people to keep in contact with relatives, information, businesses, and services beyond their immediate village. This does not erase distance. It changes what distance means. A relative overseas can appear on a screen from a home in Samoa. Money can move faster than a person. News from another country can reach a village before the ferry arrives from the neighboring island. The old geography remains, but the social distance has changed. For younger Samoans, that creates possibilities and choices. Growing up in Samoa can mean inheriting a strong sense of family and place, while also seeing roots outward through education, employment, and migration. Young people move through a school system that teaches both Samoan and English. After-school choices can lead toward work in public service, tourism, trades, business, agriculture, transport, further study, or opportunities abroad. Samoa also participates in international labor mobility pathways, so overseas work is not an abstract idea for many families. But leaving and belonging are not opposites. A person can work overseas and send money home. Someone can study elsewhere and remain involved in family decisions. A young adult can want a different career without rejecting Fale Samoa. Another may prefer to stay close to family land while finding a new way to earn income. This is why the younger generation should not be described as standing on one side of a battle between tradition and modernity. The more interesting question is how people negotiate both. Language shows that negotiation in everyday form. Samoan remains a central living language and is officially protected and promoted. English is also taught in schools and widely used in business and communication, especially in Apia. Moving between the two can connect inherited identity with a wider economic and educational world. Technology adds another layer, but it does not decide the outcome. A phone can connect someone to a job opportunity or to a cousin overseas. It can also carry family messages, church notices, and village information. New tools enter old networks and often become useful because those networks already exist. The result is not a clean break with the past. It is a series of negotiations made person by person, family by family. And there is one moment in the day when the relationship between old rhythm and modern movement becomes unusually visible. Toward evening, traffic still passes through villages. Phones still work. Children are still moving around homes and yards. Then, in select villages, a bell rings or a conch shell sounds. This is the sacred evening prayer curfew. It usually falls between 6 and 7 in the evening and lasts around 10 to 20 minutes. During that period, movement through the village is expected to pause. The power of the moment comes from how ordinary everything was a minute earlier. Nothing about the road has changed. The same houses are there. The same cars, utility poles, concrete walls, open fails, and phones remain. What changes is behavior. For a brief interval, a shared rule becomes visible across physical space. An old practice still has the authority to slow modern movement. Then the final bell or conch signal comes and ordinary traffic resumes. That short transition captures something important about Samoa. Continuity here is not the absence of change. It is the ability of certain practices to keep finding a place inside change. That continuity is not effortless. Samoa remains highly exposed to cyclones, floods, tsunamis, and other natural hazards. More than 70% of the population lives in low-lying coastal areas, so the places where homes, roads, churches, farms, and businesses are concentrated are also places where storms, flooding, and coastal change can become immediate problems. A disaster does not affect the economy in the abstract. It can mean a roof needs replacing, a road is blocked, a crop is damaged, a boat cannot go out. Electricity is interrupted, or money intended for one purpose has to repair something else. Climate change adds a slower pressure through sea level rise, coastal erosion, heat, rainfall changes, and the growing need to protect infrastructure and ecosystems. For families whose identity and responsibilities are tied to customary land, adaptation can be more complicated than simply choosing another property somewhere else. Economic pressure can be just as personal. Imported goods carry the cost of distance. Local wages compete with opportunities overseas. Farmers face weather pests and market uncertainty. Tourism can fluctuate. Families may rely on several sources of income because no single one feels sufficient in every season. Tradition also carries obligations. Family church village and ceremonial responsibilities can require time, labor, food, and money. The same system that creates belonging and mutual support can also create expectations that individuals have to manage. None of this reduces Samoan life to hardship. It simply makes the picture more honest. A beautiful coastline can also be exposed. A close family can also bring responsibility. A strong tradition can also require compromise. A modern opportunity can also pull someone away. The question is what remains valuable enough to hold those tensions together. For many people, the answer is built from ordinary things, the kind that become easy to overlook precisely because they happen so often. Belonging is rarely announced as a grand idea. It appears as recognition, repetition, and the knowledge that a place already holds a role for you. It is knowing which road leads back to family land. It is hearing Samoans spoken around a table without needing to translate the meaning of every gesture. It is the smell of an umu being opened, the weight of taro on a plate, the first sight of Savai'i from a ferry deck, or the way a Fale fills when an occasion grows larger than one household. It is also being known. In village life, identity can come with history. People may know your parents, grandparents, family title responsibilities, and where your Aiga belongs. That closeness can feel demanding, but it can also make belonging concrete. Even the things we have seen carry that idea. Ie Samoa matters because it moves through relationships. The Fale matters because it creates space for people to gather. The ferry matters because it reconnects islands. Remittances matter because distance has not ended responsibility. Sa matters because a village can briefly agree that there is a time for movement to stop. Home in this sense is not protected by keeping everything unchanged. It survives because people keep deciding what should travel forward. Materials change, jobs change, families spread across countries, new technologies enter daily life. Young people choose different careers, practices adapt to new circumstances, but the deeper structure can remain recognizable family before isolation, place tied to memory and responsibility extending beyond the individual. That is why Samoa can feel both old and unmistakably present at the same time. From the air, these islands can look like the familiar Pacific image, green land, surrounded by brilliant blue water. Come closer, and the picture becomes more complicated. Volcanic ground supports farms and villages. The coast provides food and exposes communities to risk. Ferries turn separation into routine movement. Markets connect local harvests with imported goods. Phones connect homes to relatives across an ocean. And practices that long predate modern roads still shape how many people understand family, respect, responsibility, and time. Samoa is not a place where the past has defeated the present. It is a place where the two continue to negotiate with each other every day. Sometimes that negotiation happens in a family meeting. Sometimes in the decision to leave or return. Sometimes around hot stones under an umu. And sometimes it happens when a bell sounds across a village, movement slows for a few minutes, and modern life makes room for an older rhythm. That brief pause may be one of the clearest ways to understand what living in Samoa means. If you want to keep exploring how people build a life in places shaped by geography, tradition, and distance, continue with another documentary in our 4K travel documentary series.